despite my age, the Corvette is my favorite car of all time. And well, that one right there is my favorite one. I think it's the C3. I don't know. I'm tired. It's early. But until now, Chevy just released what I think might be the best Corvette to date, called the E-Ray. Whoa. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that's an electric Corvette. That's stupid. Nobody likes electric cars right now. But it is not that at all. It is a hybrid, and it is not a hybrid in the way that you would think of maybe a Prius. It is a hybrid in the way you would think maybe a Porsche 918. And these cars are becoming more and more popular, the performance hybrids, such as the Porsche 918, like I mentioned, and the LaFerrari that was legendary on release. So Chevy decided to take a crack at the performance hybrid, and they freaking nailed it. So as always, the most important thing, let's get into the power plant on this thing. As far as the gas engine goes, it borrows the 495 horsepower 6.2 liter V8 from the base Stingray model C8, and I mean, a base of 500 horsepower is already pretty damn good. And of course, that is hooked up to that lovely, velvety 8-speed automatic. Now, the electric motor is not really what you would expect. It's just a little 160 horsepower motor. But the thing that makes it really special is it's at the front wheels, making this not only the first hybrid Corvette, but also the first all-wheel drive Corvette. And to place all of that in the first mid-engine Corvette, I mean, what more can you ask for? I mean, we're getting into like Huracan Lamborghini territory here. And to save as much weight as possible, Chevy put a 1.9 kilowatt hour battery, little tiny guy, and they put it right between the seats down low to keep the weight as perfect as you can get while you're putting a big brick in the middle of the car. So when you combine the internal combustion engine, that 6.2 liter, with that 160 horse from that little electric motor up front, you get 655 horsepower. Now that's just 15 horsepower short of the Z06. So if you want to avoid your warranty, then you could have a cheap Z06 on your hands. Now, power means nothing if you can't get it to the ground. So let's talk about the factory option tires, which are probably the weirdest thing yet. For some reason, they chose Michelin all-season tires. I don't know what they were going for. Maybe they thought this thing was going to be the next rally car or something. I could totally see Whistle and Diesel rallying this thing around, all-wheel drive Corvette with all seasons on it. I'm calling you out. Whistle and Diesel. Let's see it. All jokes aside, I mean, you'd think that the all-season tires would be pretty bad, but the major complaint everybody had was road noise. But other than that, it actually loses a tenth of a G as compared to Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, which are like the top of the line tires out right now. And I think that's mostly due to how amazing the Corvette suspension is. I'll try and put up some pictures here, but it's got a magnetic shock system, so it's all computer controlled shocks, and yeah, they did a really good job with the suspension on the Corvette. So I think you could put linglongs on this thing and it would grip. That being said, if you want all seasons on your Vette, you could theoretically drive this thing in the winter. Not that you'd want to, but I don't know. 655 horsepower in the winter sounds terrifying in my opinion, but I'm sure people have done it before. Now, these all seasons are not just all seasons. They are fat. They got 275s in the front and 345s in the rear. So, yeah, I think I know where all that road noise complaints were coming from. And they made those fit thanks to that wide body borrowed from the Z06 package. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm pretty sure they tested this with the factory option tires that could have had the Pilot Sports on. I'm not sure. You can add those on for just $500. But even with the all seasons, as far as I'm aware, this thing still has a 2.5 second 0 to 60 and a 10.6 quarter mile speed. And the folks over at Motor One got to go down and test this thing, and they even said it feels like a Tesla. So if you've ever been in a Tesla and launched, it is crazy. And that's, of course, thanks to that instant torque you get from that electric motor up front. Another thing the E-Ray got from the Z06 is it gets those badass carbon ceramic brakes that are going to make noise constantly and old men will complain about. But when you combine those carbon ceramic brakes with the regenerative braking that you'll get from that motor, this thing is going to stop on a dime. And most importantly, when we start talking in the hybrid world, we got to talk about the driving modes. Of course, it comes with a standard driving mode, keeping the battery around 70%. You can drive around all day on it. It will give you that punch from the electric motor on the launches, but when you're cruising, it'll charge it back up, and just kind of exactly what you'd expect. Maybe you get a little bit better gas mileage, but maybe not. It's not boring though. Like, you could totally track this thing with the standard driving mode. The second mode that I thought was pretty cool was the stealth mode. It basically makes the thing fully electric, which also makes it the first and only front-wheel drive Corvette. Now, like I said, that little battery they put in there to save as much weight as possible only gives you a 5-mile range, and you can only go up to 45. So my first thought when I saw this was, this is perfect for those early morning cold starts when you go and start your car, and for whatever reason, that's the loudest your car has ever been, is like 6 or 7 in the morning. So I thought, man, this is perfect. You could put it in stealth mode, get out of your neighborhood. I mean, most people live within 5 miles from a highway of some sort. You just flip it back into the normal driving mode and the gas motor kicks on. But for whatever reason, you can't do that. There was no reason given for this, but you can't hot switch between driving modes. If you were to do that, put it in stealth mode and get out of your neighborhood, you would have to then pull over, turn the car off, switch it back into normal driving mode, and then turn the car back on. It is basically like cycling the key. This is the only car that I've ever seen that on. I mean, Ford F-150s, you can even hot switch between all of the different modes, even in the base model trucks. So I don't know why they chose to do this. I'm assuming there was a good reason for it, because they wouldn't do that on purpose, but maybe they did. Who knows? I'm hoping that's just a generation or year one fix, and maybe that could be a software like recall they could fix later down the line. Now, there's one last mode that is the best out of all of them, and it is the track mode. It basically disconnects all charging except for regenerative braking, and you get to utilize the full horsepower of the gas and the electric motor, and you are running on battery only. So you can't drive around in the track mode, but you can cruise on the track with it. So now for everybody's least favorite part, and that's the pricing. So where they wanted to put this was between the Z06 and the Stingray, and that's exactly where it is. It comes in at just about $106,000. That's the base anyway for the E-Ray. Now that sounds like a lot. I know. $106,000 for a Corvette sounds crazy, but when you compare to anything else in the lineup, the closest comparison I found was the Acura NSX. It's all-wheel drive. It doesn't have the hybrid, but it comes in at $70,000 more than this. So the E-Ray is actually extremely cheap for what it is. It's coming in $70,000 less than the closest competition. Even when comparing to other Corvettes in the lineup, it's still a deal. If you compare it to the Z06, it's got 15 horsepower less than the Z06, which is all motor, and it weighs like 400 pounds more than the Z06, but the Z06 is $8,000 more. So you're getting about the same performance as the Z06 with a much lower price tag. The major difference between the Z06 and this would be you get a lot more aero options. It's much more track focused. I mean, it comes standard with the Pilot Sports, but to make up for all that, the E-Ray has all-wheel drive, and if you really want to add aero, I'm sure you could pay for it. I'm totally a gas-powered fast car guy, you know. I mean, I love the classic Vettes, But I have to say, I think this might be my favorite Corvette of all time. The Corvette has been the car that they have always just pushed the limits with. If you don't know, they had a mid-engine version for a while they were testing before this one even came out. People thought it was going to come out in like the 90s. They even thought about throwing a rotary in the Corvette. They were always trying to push tech as far as they could with the Vette, and this is just the epitome of that. When the Porsche 918 and LaFerrari came out, I still remember watching Top Gear when they tested those when they first came out, and I just thought it was such a cool concept. You get the instantaneous torque from that electric motor, but you still get the emotion of a giant V8, giant pushrod V8, by the way, that just still got that old school power and sound while you're integrating it with the perfect modern technology. I'm just curious what you guys think, because I know the Corvette demographic that everybody jokes about is the old guys that are country club dudes, and I don't think they would be a fan of this, but I feel like the younger generation coming up will be. So I'm just curious what you guys think of this. Yeah, just leave it down below and I'll reply to some comments on what I think. But that is all for today. So thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on anything that drives.